I'm Ray Hadley. Great to have your company on 2GB and stations on the Southern Cross and Capital Radio networks. Email me at either rayhadley.com or 2gb.com today.
Within months of the scheme starting, Talkback Radio was inundated.
Don't be nervous, Betty. What's wrong?
Well, I had the insulation done.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any lights in the kitchen for 2 days and the back room. But I haven't been able to get anyone to have a look to see if it's...
You need someone to pop their head up and have a look and make sure they're all being put around properly.
This was a huge issue on Talkback Radio throughout Australia. Every pensioner was aware that either they or their friends were being cold called with dodgy installers coming in.
By February, the pressure was mounting on Minister Garrett.
These were preventable deaths. The Minister didn't kill them, but he didn't take the action that would have kept them alive.
It is the case that there have been, regrettably, these fatalities, and the association with this program has been identified. And I very, very much regret that.
Next one, ready?
The government was forced to announce the inspections of 50,000 foil-insulated roofs, and a hotline was set up.
Ready?
Victorian pensioner Georgine Mills rang and asked for an inspection.
He said, well, get up on the roof and look. I said, I'm 77. And he said, oh, we'll get an electrician in. And I thought, oh, what the hell, and left it be. But then there were a lot more calls, plus articles in the paper.
Georgine called the installers, but was told they'd closed down. Like so many other companies, they'd shut their doors.
So you get the...
Georgine was told there were 12,000 ahead of her waiting for inspections. Frustrated, she rang her local member, Greg Hunt, who's the opposition environment spokesperson. He organised an inspection for her, and just as well.
All right, so what we've got here, Greg, is we've got that's a wire-wound transformer.
Mm-hmm.
They're prone to getting quite hot. So the problem, I suppose, from an electrical safety point of view, really, is well, you've got installers coming in that probably aren't as well trained as they could be, and throwing bats over these things creates a fire hazard.
Not only did they discover that the installers had thrown insulation over downlights, presenting a potential fire hazard, but they'd also lied to the elderly woman.
So, Scott, what we've got under here is clearly a double layer of bats.
Yep.
And Mrs Mills was told at the outset that there was no insulation in her roof. That was clearly a lie.
Yeah.
There was already a layer of pink bats, which makes the job illegal.
I think I'm angry more, and if this is out of line, forgive me, at the government for bringing in such a routable system. I think Mr Rudd's advisors should have looked more into the pros of this system before anything was done.
The information about the installer is very sketchy. We have written to the government on behalf of Mrs Mills, firstly to make sure that the job was chased down and the installer was prosecuted. No information back on that yet. Secondly, we want help to fix up Mrs Mills' roof.
The home insulation program had become a fiasco. Peter Garrett was demoted and Greg Combet was brought in to clean up the mess.
Well, I've taken on difficult jobs before, and this is certainly a difficult job that the Prime Minister's asked me to do.
The Prime Minister admitted it had been rushed.
I think I'm disappointed in myself for not asking more questions. In the pace of events last year, it's easy in hindsight to say we should have asked more questions, but we didn't have time.
Four Corners has found that within the Environment Department, concerns had been raised right from the very beginning. But the crucial question remains, was Peter Garrett told of these? And if so, did he convey to the Prime Minister that this was the price of rolling out the scheme so fast? The answer could be in 4 letters that Peter Garrett wrote to the Prime Minister, which Mr Rudd refuses to release.
The Prime Minister has declared these letters to be Cabinet in confidence, but there's no evidence that they were presented to the Cabinet process, and there's no reason to hide these letters. Why would the Prime Minister hide these letters? They are evidence of government action if the Prime Minister is correct. But if the Prime Minister is not correct, these letters show that he was warned and that his denial of warnings is false.
Government has the right to protect everything, and if it were you or me, we'd only protect things that would make us look bad. If it made us look good, you'd release it. If it didn't really hurt us at all, you'd release it. So there has to be major question over what's in those that makes Kevin Rudd and his ministries look bad.
Four Corners approached both Minister Garrett and Minister Combet for an interview. Both declined our invitation.
Minister Wendy Carlisle, Four Corners.
Wendy.
Why won't you do an interview with Four Corners about your rollout of the home insulation program?
Well, we'll be able to make some comments available to you in the ordinary course of events. That would be the appropriate way to do it.
The Prime Minister was in no mood either.
Hello, Minister Wendy Carlisle, Four Corners. Why won't you publicly release those letters that Peter Garrett wrote to you?
Excuse me.
Just last week, the replacement scheme was also axed. The price of checking the houses that have already been insulated could be up to $1 billion. More than 6 months after the death of their son, the Fullers are still searching for answers. It's taken them to Canberra and into what they thought was a private meeting with Greg Combet.
Kevin Rudd burst into the meeting after about 15 minutes and sat right next to me. And he didn't remember my name. So I shook his hand and said, "It's Kevin, it's not that difficult to remember," type logic. Same as his, you'd think he'd remember that one.
I can't even remember what he said. It was nothing important. Yeah, we told him we've held him responsible, and that we and I'm sure the other families of the other young lads would like a public apology. We've never had a public apology, an admission that they've stuffed up, you know?
Did he personally apologise to you in that meeting?
Absolutely not.
No expression of sorrow?
There may have been in it's an unfortunate or, talking around the issue and around the program, but no looking in my eyes or Christine's eyes and saying, "I'm sorry." Even sorry for your loss would have been good.
The cost of the government's home insulation program has been great. Lives lost, houses razed, a massive clean-up. And for the Fullers, there's only the government to blame.
We didn't even let Matt's name out for almost 4 months because we stupidly trusted the system. We trusted that the Minister and the Prime Minister and all the departments involved would actually do something, would listen and change something. They did nothing. They just justified their existence all the way through. They allowed 3 other kids to get killed.
There was no duty of care anywhere in any of this, from the top down, from the government to the ministers, their aides, the guys that employed them. There was no care.